Hey everybody, and welcome back. Today we're going to be going over the basics of stacking, in particular games. I know we've done player stacks, we've done individual team stacks, and we kind of looked at team stacking in a way to get a game stack, but it would do stacking one team or the other team in the game, right? It's not going to be mixing players from that game. So today we're going to be going over the built-in game stack method within the pydfs-lineup-optimizer Python package. And then we're going to be, in the next video, we're going to be over some advanced methods, because I'm going to be honest with you, the built-in game stack system, it leaves a lot to be desired, in my opinion. So, let's go ahead and hop in. We have a couple import statements here that we aren't going to be using today. I built out one big game stack, Jupyter Notebook, and then broke it off into the basics and the advanced, because I wanted to do it all in one. But once I kind of went down the rabbit hole of kind of working around the built-in limitations, I realized that that would be way too long of a single video. So what we're going to need today is going to be our normal optimizer site sport, and player. I guess we may not need that. But then from pydfs-lineup-optimizer.stacks, we do need to import game stack. We're not going to be using stack nested players group optimizer stack or regular players group for this video, I don't believe. But I may be wrong. We may end up using one of them. But I know some of this stuff's for the more advanced workarounds. So let's go ahead and import that. And you guys can ignore this here. This is just because when I'm out and about, not at home doing some work, I'm working on my MacBook. When I'm at home, I'm on my Windows desktop. So this is just to check and see which file path to use to find the player list. And we can see they are different player lists, but that matters zero for the purposes of demonstrating how game stacks work. So this is just for my purposes, so I don't have to constantly be commenting one out, running the other, commenting it out, running the other. It's just kind of a built-in if checked, so it pulls the right one for me. Next up, we're going to go ahead and load up our optimizer. And then before we run a game stack, actually, we're going to go ahead and check and kind of get just the base level optimization here. So without putting in any specific logic or anything, these are going to be the lineups that we get. Pretty standard stuff. This is our control group, like we've been doing before. We're probably not going to be doing a whole lot of comparing back and forth, since we can just look through the games real quick and check the stacks, but just so we have an idea. Most of these are going to be full salary at 60,000, point ranges from 314.5 down to 313. So that's a pretty tight spread, right? Going on, if we want to do a game stack, it's going to be pretty simple. Let's reinitialize our optimizer. We just need to run optimizer.addStack, add_stack, parentheses game stack, and the number we're passing here is going to be the number of players from that game we're wanting to stack. So we want to say we want 3 players from a single game in every lineup is what we're saying here. So if we run that, let's take a look and see. Looks like we have 1, 2, 3, 4 from Detroit, Dallas. Okay, because we're not limiting it, we're saying we need at least 3. So that's going to be our stack there. It's a Detroit, Dallas game. Come down one more. Looks like we've got Detroit, Dallas again, but this time it is just the 3, not the 4, so that's accurate for what we wanted. Come down to the next one, Detroit, Dallas. Come down to the next one, Detroit, Dallas. Next one, Detroit, Dallas. I think you're seeing a trend here. This is the issue we've run into time and time again. If we don't specify a max exposure, whether it's for a stack we're using or just for our lineups in general, the optimizer has no problem running the same thing over and over again. You could, in theory, if you run our control group, in theory, these 10 lineups could have all had 8 of the exact same players in every single one, just swapping out that 9th player at a low salary point. That is something that could happen with no exposure set. Same thing here. It picks out this Detroit-Dallas stack, and it says that's the best value stack for the salary, so we are just going all in on Detroit-Dallas. And they're probably all Kelly Olynyk, Jeremy Grant, and Jalen Brunson. Kelly Olynyk, Grant, Brunson, Olynyk, yeah. So they're probably all even going to be the exact same stack. Olynyk, Grant, Brunson, yeah. Although this one, it looks like we also have Milwaukee, LA. 1, 2, 3. Okay, that's cool. Alright, but again, the Detroit-Dallas stack is the one that it is coming through from our code. So to avoid for doing that, or even not necessarily to avoid that specific scenario, because we're not going to put an exposure in here, but another parameter we can pass to the game stack is minimum from team. So if we look here, we have Detroit, Detroit, 2 Detroits and a Dallas. Let's look, yeah. So 2 Detroit players and a Dallas player is pretty much the go-to stack that it's using. But it could very well have picked 3 players from the same team. It's not forcing it to pick from both teams if we just run it raw with no other parameters. The min from team is going to force it to pick at least 2 players from each team. So if we run a game stack of 4 and a min from team is 2, that means that each stack will be 2 from one team, 2 from the other team, because we need at least 2 from one and we're looking for 4. So let's run that and see what we get. So now we have Dallas, Dallas, Detroit, Detroit. Alright, so that's already mixing it up a little bit. What's our stack? 1, 2, 3, still Detroit, Dallas. We have Dallas, Dallas, Detroit, Detroit. So Jalen Brunson, Anthony, or Dorian Finney-Smith, Grant Olynyk, is that what we had up here? Yeah. So now it's probably going to be that foursome on pretty much everything again. Maybe not, bringing in a 4th one and forcing it to split. We might get a little more variation. Detroit, Detroit, Dallas, Dallas. But it's looking like it's, again, identified the one stack, 2 and 2, that's going to be the best value across the slate, especially when you're factoring in the other players to choose and their salaries and their value. It has identified this as the best option, and it's going to run with that pretty much across the board. Let's scroll down to the bottom and see Detroit, 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 yeah. So it's going to be the exact same thing for pretty much every lineup. So what we can also do, and one thing to note, if we say we want a stack of 4 and a minimum from team of 3, we're going to get an error. The error is going to be min from team is greater than stack size. And you might think, well, 3 is less than 4. But when you put minimum from team is 3, that's essentially passing a requirement of 6 for the stack, because we need 3 from each team. So if we're only stacking 4, we need the min from team to be less than or equal to half of this number. We could do min from team is 2 and a game stack of 5, and that's going to give us 2 and 3 from either team. It could be 2 of one, 3 of the other. Next one could be 3 of one, 2 of the other, right? But we can't do 5 and 3 because, again, that's looking for 6 players that we don't have. If we try and run 6, that'll work. If we try and run 7, that'll work. If we try and run 8 and 4, that'll run. So now we get all Milwaukee, LA except for 1 player. All right. Now you'll notice we're unable to choose the team that we're wanting here, right? That is one of the limitations of this built-in game stack. It does not allow you to pass the team. It just pulls in everything and says we're going to be stacking games, and then you allow the optimizer to pick the best games to stack. Which, in theory, could be good if your projections are good. But in general, you may want to be able to have a little more control over that, right? Like, I want to stack this game. What else we can do is we can put in a max exposure. And just like our team stacks, this isn't going to be an exposure for the players. It's not going to be an exposure for the stack combinations. It's going to be an exposure for the game that gets stacked. So if you have 8 games and you put in a max exposure, I guess if you're getting 10 lineups and you have a max exposure of 0.1, but you only have 8 games, you're going to get an error because it says each game can only be stacked 1 time, but you don't have enough games to meet the requirements, right? So let's do a game stack 4, min from team 2, max exposure 0.3. See what we get. So if we come through, let's make sure we run to completion. We did. Okay. So let's see what we have. So we should have no single game stacked more than 3 times. So first up, we have Detroit-Dallas. That's 1 for Detroit-Dallas. We have 2 for Detroit-Dallas. We have 3 for Detroit-Dallas. Now we shouldn't have any more Detroit-Dallas stacks. come down to the next one. Sure enough, now we're stacking Milwaukee, LA. And Milwaukee, LA. And Milwaukee, LA. All right, that's 3 for Milwaukee, LA. We shouldn't be getting any more Milwaukee, LA stacks or Dallas, Detroit stacks. So let's see what we get now. New York, Denver. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yep. All right, so now we're stacking New York, Denver. That's 1. That is not New York, Denver. What is that? Houston, New Orleans. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, Houston, New Orleans. Houston, New Orleans. So that's 2 Houston, New Orleans. And then a second New York, Denver. So we get 3, 3, 2, 2. All right. Now, that's going to be pretty much all we can do with game stacks. We can set how many players we want from a game. We can set the max exposure of the teams that are getting stacked. Or not the teams, the games themselves. And we can set the minimum number of players we want from each team within that game that's getting stacked. That's pretty much it. And I went into the source code as part of my, going in and trying to figure out ways to work around these limitations. And if we look at the game stack class, yeah, we can pass the size. How many players we want, the size of the stack. We can pass the max exposure, and we can pass the minimum from team. Those are the only 3 parameters that GameStack takes. We do not get the option to pass a specific game. All right. So that's going to really be it for the built-in GameStack. I know this is a short video. What am I at? 12 minutes recording, and that's not counting what's going to get cut out here. So this will probably be edited down to 9 or 10 minute video, which is good because it's short, sweet, to the point. Now you can do game stacks. That is a new tool in your tool belt that you can utilize. However, I would imagine, like myself, most of you are going to see this and think, okay, but and what? And I understand that. So that will be the next video. I'll probably be recording it immediately following this. It'll be a little while before I get time to get them both edited and uploaded, though, so it will be the following video to come out after this one. Of that, I guarantee you. But that's going to be it for today. I know it's underwhelming. I was very underwhelmed when I got in to make this and started digging around, and I looked at their documentation online and was like, okay, but usually there's more you can do that's not stated in the documentation. So I dug on the source code and was like, no, yep, that's all you got. So it is what it is. Nothing really more to say about it. Huge shout out to everybody in the Patreon. Very thankful for your membership and your support. If anybody would like to join the Patreon, you can get in for as little as $5 a month. If you would like to support the channel, but you don't want to join the Patreon, or you're not financially able to join the Patreon, the most impactful thing you can do for the channel as a whole to help keep growth going and new viewers and bring people in, subscribe, like, comment, and watch the videos as close to when they get released as you can. I've noticed that's something that the algorithm really picks up on YouTube, and the better it does starting out, the better it kind of goes at getting, because I can see like new viewers, returning viewers, and the videos that do the best early tend to get pushed to a wider audience and get more new viewers coming in. So if you'd like to help support the channel, that's something that you can think about that costs no money. It's just the timing on when you watch it. And for those that maybe haven't picked up on it or relatively new, I try to put my videos out Tuesday evening Eastern time, somewhere around 6 o'clock Eastern. So wherever you're at in the world, that would be Eastern time, United States, 6 p.m. my time, Eastern time. But yeah, that's going to be it for today. And I will see you all next week for some more advanced game stacking techniques.